I grew up in Indiana State in the middle of nowhere. I think most of Indiana State is the middle of nowhere. I visited. Shots fired. You know what? I got stuck on so many of their fucking back roads because they were doing construction. Indiana owes me one. Hello and welcome to Talk Spooky to Me, the Ghost Story Guys mail show. I'm Brennan Storr.
I'm Paul Bestel.
And this is our opportunity to hear from you, our audience. Paul, my friend, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I frightened Julie over the weekend with a terrifying prediction.
I'm almost afraid to ask, given the news these days, but tell me.
So, this is a conundrum here. All week, last week, so Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, and Friday night, we were buzzed by the loudest aeroplane I've ever heard in my life. Right?
Oh.
Like, ridiculous. We thought it was flying down the street. It was so loud. I mean, we get planes coming over all the time where we are. We're in the middle of about 4 different airports, so a lot of them come over us. And because I love UFOs, I've got a flight tracker, all right? And every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I checked it. Oh, it's the US Air Force. Why are the US Air Force flying over England? Where are they flying from? Because apparently they weren't flying from England, according to the Prime Minister. And so I just said, so I guess we're going to be bombing Iran tomorrow then, are we? So I said to Julie, she said, "What do you really think they're going to do it?" I said, "It won't surprise me if we wake up tomorrow and they've started bombing Iran." We wake up Saturday morning, what's happened?
Oh, man.
So once again, I predicted, not by much, but yeah. So that was great. I was really chuffed to wake up Saturday morning and see some more peace had been delivered to the Middle East.
See, this is the curse of Cassandra. You know the future, you can do fuck all to change it, and it's never anything good.
So yeah, that was great. I was really, really glad that my psychic powers are manifesting in such a positive manner.
Lucky you. Well, as it turns out, I have a conundrum of my own. This one is much more down to earth, we'll say. So, as you know, as I've talked about on here, I've sort of developed this enthusiasm for antique stores and vintage stores. And I decided I needed a floor lamp. So I went looking around, and in one particular shop, which I've described here before, in the very, very back, I found not a floor lamp, but I found a 3.5-foot tall handmade bamboo and wrought iron candelabra, which you can see behind me. So I bought that, and I got some gigantic pillar candles, and it is a lovely addition to the room. Of course, however, the corner where it is also where the hookup for the old internet was. So I just put the modem and the router behind the little table that the candelabra is standing on. Well, the thing I forgot about candles is sometimes they don't always burn the way they're supposed to. And so the very first cheap set I bought, one of them cracked, and a great deal of wax went a-roving, we'll say. Now, everything continued to work fine. The modem worked fine. The router worked fine. They were just covered in wax. However, I recently changed internet providers, and part of that process is I have to ship back all the old equipment. So now I have to figure out how to explain this to them so they don't think I'm some kind of wax pervert.
Do you want a tip?
I'm all ears.
Okay. You need a towel that you're not going to use again, or just buy a really cheap one or something, right? Wrap the modem in it, right? And you just get an iron, and you just do that, and it'll lift all the wax off into the towel.
Oh, okay, there we go. Well, I don't own an iron either. I have 2 different gaming consoles, no iron.
Fuck. It's like when I moved in with Richard and Jamie years ago, and the first day there, we were going to go out, and I said, "Where's your ironing board?" And they both started laughing. "Why do you need an ironing board?" I said, "What the fuck? You haven't got an ironing board? I mean, I'm 23 and man of the world. I need an ironing board." So I bought an ironing board. Then everybody wants to use it. It's amazing. They don't need one until you buy it, and then everybody wants it. Get off it's my fucking ironing board. Get off. So I'm quite over, one of those, I'm a Renaissance man. So I was taught to iron at an early age because my mum always said, if you want something washing, here's how you use the washing machine. If you want something ironing, this is how you iron.
I could be honest, I don't really iron much anymore. I used to have handkerchiefs, and I would iron those. And then it was explained to me that is a terrifying affectation for a young man to have. My grandfather got me started doing it because he used to have handkerchiefs, and so I had handkerchiefs. And then it was explained to me that about the time I started knowing the sweet touch of a lady that no, that's actually quite creepy, and you should stop doing that. So that I just wear T-shirts. I don't iron them very much. Half of them shrink before I have a chance to wear them again, anyways. So no, not really. I have a record player I bought the other day. No iron.
You'll be surprised to hear that when I start, it's very difficult for me to stop, and so I'll be ironing, and then I'll just feel a hand on my shoulder, and Julie will say, "I think that's enough now, Paul." You've been doing it for 2.5 hours, Paul. What the fuck are you doing? You do not need 6 pairs of iron jeans ready to go, mate. Why have you done 10 jumpers? What's going on in your... I just want to be done.
If you're going to do something, do it right.
Yeah, the only disagreement I've got here in the setup we've got here is I used to do my ironing on a Sunday evening, either watching the NFL or golf. And we can't do it now. The front room setup isn't there for me to do that. So I have to try and fit it in on a Saturday afternoon if I've got the football on. So that was part of my routine. It's taken me a few years to get around that. It was quite hard for me to process I couldn't iron on a Sunday night.
We are creatures of habit, aren't we?
Well, that's one word to describe autism.
A listener asked about, because I'm Canadian, how I was diagnosed. And I was like, yeah, I haven't been. I got to be honest with you. I'm a fake autist. But after this conversation, I don't think it's that fake.
No. But there you are. There's some tips. I've had a lot of experience with wax and irons in different circumstances.
Paul, a man of mystery. Will we learn about wax and irons when we open this? Jesus Christ! When we open this next batch of listener mail, we can but hope. Who knows? Yeah, we can but hope.
See what strangeness we can decant from the mailbag.
Our courteous and efficient staff is on call 24 hours a day to serve all your supernatural elimination needs.
We're ready to believe you.
All right, so the first up is from Sarah R. via email. This is from 2024. Now, this is part of something I was inspired to do after our anonymous listener gave me a bollocking for not getting back to her about after she sent in her story. I'm still not going to reply to everyone's email, but it occurred to me that there is a bunch of stuff I've missed. So I've started to go back and make an effort to, especially all the stories. We've got several listener story shows coming up, including some messages, one of which actually was Merlin Hansen, one of our patrons. It was one of his first story that he ever sent in to us back in 2019. Is finally getting told on an upcoming episode. So, Merlin, thank you for your patience.
A plague-free story.
A plague-free story. It'll be like the whole thing will be in that sort of honey-covered filter, like that one Al Pacino movie where he plays someone's Anyways, no one remembers that movie.
Yes.
2 bits. Yes. 2 bits. That's what it's called.
But I'd just like to compliment you on your excellent and correct use of bollocking there. Well done.
I mean, thank you. I have been married to an English woman for 17 years.
It's good to see that's become part of your vocabulary in that sense.
See, the thing is, I have to learn to apply those words only when I'm speaking to English people, because otherwise people from here just think you're being a dick or a douche, because you're like, cheers. Oh, you sound like someone from England. Well, I'm not, okay. Yep. Sorry, I should have said thank you and just continued on with my day.
See, if somebody says that to you, you just say, bollocks.
Jog on.
Jog on, cockwomble.
Maybe I'll make that the title of the episode instead of the conundrum. Jog on, cockwomble. Anyways, I'll figure that out as we go. It's always a question of what iTunes will let you get away with. All right, so this is Sarah R. from 2024. Hey, people. I just found your podcast a couple weeks ago. I just listened to an episode on the haunting of Pittsburgh. I listen while at work. I'm a transplant here in Pennsylvania. I grew up in Indiana State in the middle of nowhere. I think most of Indiana State is the middle of nowhere. I visited... Shots fired. You know what? I got stuck on so many of their fucking back roads because they were doing construction. Indiana owes me one. In September of that year, in September of 2021, I left my life behind and started over settling outside of Pittsburgh. Because, like Brennan, I felt a sense of home here and knew I belonged here. I've had various encounters with spirits and orbs. I feel connected more securely, and my sense of things unseen but felt has gotten stronger since moving. I'm working to better understand these things. I love the show and all the great banter. Keep it up. P.S. Brennan, check out Macro Blank. You might like his music, especially after having had the green leaf.
Ooh.
Sarah R.
Cheeky.
Okay. Well, Sarah, thank you very much. And again, I admire the shit out of someone who leaves her life behind and starts over. That is a very difficult thing to do. And kudos to you for taking that step.
Definitely.
And I hope you're still listening to the show.
Yes, we do.
He didn't respond to my email. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy right in his nose. Who does he think he is?
Any show.
Someone should give him a right bollocking. I feel like we're going to get Dan Stevens kicking us in the bollocks after the joke we made about him on the last episode.
Dan Stevens is Chris Anal.
Yeah, exactly. I look nothing like that fucking guy. I'm going to beat the shit out of both of you.
Yeah, no, you do, Dan.
Oh, we've lost patron Dan Stevens. Patron Dan S. says, I think it's unfair that you guys made that joke.
I'm not taking criticism from somebody who played a character who was supposedly paralysed in Downton Abbey, but then they realised he'd just got a bruised arse. No.
He didn't write the thing.
I don't care. You have to perform that with a straight face. Bad as them killing the dog because it was called Isis.
What?
The dog in Downton Abbey was called Isis.
Like
and
the
then,
dogs.
Yeah, and then they... yeah. But obviously, people were going, oh, how can you name it? Because obviously people are idiots. How can you name a dog after a terrorist organisation? Why don't you just call it IRA?
yeah. Here's our other dog, Boko Haram. Fuck off.
Oh, if you've got the IRA, you've got to have a dog called the UDF. You know, and all these people are just kicking off now. So the dog died in the show because it was called ISIS. And it's like, what's the fucking going on here? You know, it's just, yeah. People say, oh, I love Downton Abbey. Well, that's good for you. But they're two examples of many of the many reasons why I'd rather pour bleach in my eyes.
After The Guest and Abigail and the Kong movies, Dan Stevens, he's all right in my books.
Yes, absolutely.
And Dan, I'll tell you where Paul lives. Shoot me an email. You can go beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, he's a southerner.
His dog, the PLO, is going to chew the shit out of your ankles, though. I was racking my brain, Oh, Bader Meinhof. I could have gone with Bader. Anyways, it's fine. We should move on from this.
Yes, we should, before we cause another international incident. Our next message is from Spotify with someone with an incredibly strange name, so I'm going to call them Trevor. Trevor says, when you guys were talking about genealogy, I wanted to share that I delved into my family tree and found that one of the women that married into my family many years ago was connected to William the Conqueror, who was born in 1024. I encourage Paul to check into his family. Who knows what it'll find? Well, Trevor, many numbers. That is precisely the reason I won't do genealogy, because I know that I have half brothers and sisters, and I don't want to know who they are.
Oh,
I've got two families. Man. I've got my mother's family,
right,
and that side, and then I've got my biological father and all his family. So I don't know. I have to deal with the fact that I didn't know who they were, and we grew up in the same town. And sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night thinking, I hope I haven't. So you have to remember these things.
Yeah. He who gazes into the genealogical abyss should be aware that the genealogical abyss also gazes back.
Absolutely. It's a rock I don't want to turn over. I've got enough friends and relatives. I don't need any more. And I don't need more people in my life to tell to fuck off.
It's just you, Julie, the cats, and your dog, the Symbionese Liberation Army.
Well, at least we've got a theme for tonight, haven't we?
What a great theme to have. All right, next up is Faith Burgess on Spotify. Brennan, if you like books where the author interviews the people who had the experience, check out the book Encounters with Star People, Untold Stories of American Indians by Artie Six Killer Clark. I think she writes mostly about ufology, at least regarding paranormal topics, but another podcast I listened to used some of her stories before, and I remember them being quite interesting, and I'm almost 100% positive they said she gets all of her stories via interviewing indigenous peoples. Well, thank you, Faith. And Paul, you've had Artie on your show, haven't you?
No, I've not had Artie on.
Really? I don't know why I thought you had.
No, but I'm going to track them down. That sounds fabulous. Just up my street.
I'll be damned. For some reason, I was convinced that you'd had Artie on your show, but okay. Well, yeah, thank you, Faith, and I will check out her book, and we may see her turn up on Paul's show at some point.
I will try my damnedest.
All right. So next up, we have two messages from the Facebook page. This is a thing you can do. You can send us messages via the Ghost Story Guys Facebook page. There's the private group, but then there's also the Facebook page. I stopped checking that page, the message box, because we kept getting thousands of messages from dozens of messages from these podcast promoters. Guys with basically things they've copied and pasted out of Chat GPT telling how they can help us promote our podcasts when, they have fewer followers than I do on my personal Instagram account, which is sad. And so I just stopped looking at it, but I finally kind of got off my ass and went and checked it out. And we did have some messages in there. So in past, we've been kind of not really all that open to like reviewing video and footage, video evidence and footage evidence, but fuck it. I think why not? If you got some footage you think is interesting or a photo you think is compelling, send it in and we'll give you our unvarnished opinion one way or the other. Our first two examples here now.
So the first message is from Sean, who says, "Hey guys, my kid just sent me a video of the clock my wife's mum gave my son to fix. It was her dad's. Take a look, lol." And yes, it seems to be powered by ghosts, as there are no batteries in the clock, and yet it is working.
Yeah, so, and for folks, obviously, we'll put a link. Will we put a link to the video? No, we can't really do that. But it's a video of a mantle clock that is still operating despite the fact that the battery compartment at the bottom is free of batteries. Now, the one thing I will say, and I mentioned this to Sean via when I responded to his message, and also I dropped these into the Discord as well, the patron Discord. And everyone kind of had the same feedback, which was those clocks. I used to know a German guy who was a clock fix. He repaired clocks and collected antique clocks. And he had a million of that particular style of mantle clock. He had so many that he wouldn't even look at them when he found them at estate sales anymore. And he was quite the guy. Still one of my favorite coworkers of all time. Yeah. After you're number one, Richard's number two. But most of them had works in the back. So it's not impossible that this one also has some kind of works in it. I mean, just obviously it's got a battery compartment, but that's not to say it can't also be wound. The battery might just be a backup. Oh,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was my first thoughts as well, that it's been adapted to take batteries, perhaps, and it might still have some clockwork mechanism inside it that's still functioning in some way when the batteries aren't there. But batteries are a strange thing. I mean, it could even be saving energy inside. I mean, there are Duracell batteries next to them by the side, which are top bollocks when it comes to batteries, I'll tell you.
This podcast sponsored by Duracell. So yeah, Sean, I'd be curious to know if there's like any kind of hatch on the back, or if there's any works, either obvious or a winding mechanism on the back, because obviously the video doesn't let us see that. Our next bit of evidence comes from John, who also sent this in via the Facebook page. John says, "I would like your opinion on this. Does it look like a woman's face in the reflection? This was 7 years ago. That picture was of my pickup truck. I took this picture because of the scratches I found on the truck. I never thought I would get a reflection of our car behind it. I sent it to my wife. She asked, 'Why is there a face in our car?' And so I sent John a message. I said, is it possible that there is a car seat or it's a headrest?" And he sent this follow-up image. And now the thing with the follow-up image is it is taken from a slightly different angle, I think. So it is not impossible that if you have just the right light conditions and the right angle, that you could see the car seat and make it look the way it does in the above shot. This one I will put Imgur links in for our audience if they want to see what we're talking about. But what are your thoughts on this one, Paul?
It's, I tell you, the first thing that jumped in my mind is obviously one of the most famous ghost photos of the 20th century here in the UK, which was taken by a lady called Mabel Chinnery. There's a name. And she took a photo of her car, her husband inside their car. I think it was 1959, somewhere at 60, something like that. And when they got the pictures back, her dead mother was sat in the back.
Oh.
Now, it's been debunked as a double exposure. Okay. No, as far as I'm aware, there were no pictures of her mother in that roll of film, but people don't like to think about that explanation. It's a very odd picture, that one. So if you just look for Mabel Chinnery or the ghost photo in back of car, you will find Mabel's famous photo. It's up there with the hooded spectre in the church as one of Britain's most, and the one that came down the stairs somewhere that kicked all this palaver off with ghost camera pictures. So it's intriguing.
I've always said that the most convincing photo I've ever seen of something paranormal was sent in by one of our listeners, and I think I've showed you, have I not?
Yes.
Yeah, but we can't show anyone else. Like we agreed that we would not share it publicly or describe it, but the person who sent it has zero reason to lie to us. I trust them, and there's no explanation for what they sent. It's probably it's the most convincing thing I've ever seen in terms of a photo.
Yeah, like you say, it's difficult to judge that because the pictures are taken from different angles, so you're not getting the same kind of situation where you can compare them properly against each other to see, as you say, that it's simply pareidolia, which it can be, because most people, when they take pictures, they're focusing on what they're taking the picture of. They're not absorbing their immediate surroundings. So often that's why when people get photos or they see a photo and they look at it, they go, oh, because they're not focused on the surroundings. They're focused on, as in this case, a picture of some scratches. What's going on in the top right hand of the frame is inconsequential at that particular point in time. And so it's only when you look at it that you think, oh, that's a bit weird. I mean, the first picture looks very odd, but like you say, it could be number of things. You would need side by side, exactly same angle, same lighting, same time of day, to make a proper analysis of it, I think. That's not to say it's not, but you need, if you're going to do a side by side, it's got to be exact. Even down to the same time of day, time of year even, because lighting and all kinds of things, you've got to take them into consideration.
But again, it's really interesting stuff, John. Again, if you do any experiments with this, please let us know. And if you see it again, please let us know. If you've got a photo or a video, send us a message, ghoststoryguys@gmail.com, or again, you can find us on the Facebook page. You can find us on Instagram as the Ghost Story Guys. I'll go through all this again at the end of the show. But if you've got a photo you're not sure about, footage you're not sure about, send it our way, man. Let us know if we can share it. The actual clip, because again, we've seen some compelling stuff. There's another video, actually. I can't remember if this is when you and I were working together or not, but it was someone sent a video taken from their home security camera of someone opening the blinds, but they claimed there was no one home at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was one we were not, as I recall, we were not allowed to share. But yeah, so if we can share it on our socials, or, with a link, please let us know, and we'll try and do that. And we are going to take a quick break for some ads, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. For next up, we have this one for Paul, and it comes from Carrie, who also sent it in via the Facebook page. She says, I wonder what Paul will make of this.
Yes, so it's Emma, the marvellous Emma from Real Life Ghost Stories, who is discussing the history of certain surnames from Ireland, both Ireland and Northern Ireland, were connected to werewolves and werewolfism in regards to that those names meant descendants of the wolf. I think Phelan, Whelan, there's a couple of others, I think. And I always like this part of Irish mythology because the Irish seem to have a lot of werewolf stories in their myths and legends and history, whereas the rest of us here, I mean, Scotland's got the Wolver, but there's not much about it. Whereas England's pretty much werewolf-free in history, regardless of what people may be claiming is happening now. I think Wales is the same. Whereas the werewolf in general is European, far more than us. That most European countries have long-standing traditions of werewolves. Germany, France. I think there's some really old ones from Spain, because I know what the Spanish for werewolf is, and that would probably suggest that I've read something about that. Obviously, Middle Europe, Czechia, Italy, Hungary, Bulgaria, pretty much Eastern Europe is full of werewolf lore and werecats and werebears and things like that.
Oh,
Scandinavians had stories of werebears. A few werewolf stories, but more werebears than werewolves, strangely enough.
Okay.
But it just shows you that Emma's brilliant at uncovering and sharing these wonderful morsels of folklore with us.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've never really crossed over, but I have nothing but respect for Emma.
Yeah.
Like she's a hell of a host. She's just great at what she does.
Yeah. Funny.
Yeah, funny and knowledgeable. No, I got a lot of time for Emma.
Absolutely. I concur. So yes, brilliant. I love stuff like that, but it'll probably make me a bit restless tonight, as it's the only thing that gives me the heebie-jeebies is werewolves. He says, looking at Linda Godfrey's collected works on his shelf.
I'm going to turn up in a werewolf costume at your wedding.
I can't guarantee I won't shoot you.
I think it'd be more weird with Julie shooting me. All right, so we got a couple short ones here. One from the Facebook page. It's from Tammy. Tammy says, "Hey, it's Tam from Tassie again. I absolutely can't get enough of you both. I do understand that it can all become way too much. I honestly and constantly remind myself I have way too many to piss off by breathing." Tammy, I admire the shit out of that. I think we all need to remember that right now. It's a trying time, man. It's a trying time. It'll for a lot of reasons, both the stuff we talked at the top of the show and just other shit. And you have to stick around. That's all there is. There's no other option. Keep moving forward, because there's still someone you have to piss off yet. Yep,
absolutely. In fact, if you're getting annoyed, just get yourself out there and bring us back a thylacine, Tam. All right?
So no, that's for all you out there, man. Just keep as best you can. Just hang on with your fingernails.
Yep.
Make the fuckers work for every inch. This is not a political thing. This is just in general. The world is full of assholes right now. Things are, again, it's just a difficult time. And hope is, like I say, it's literally the only thing we have. And even I am having a hard time clinging to that this last little while. But fuck it. We've all got to get through U2's new album together, guys. So come on. We can make it. I'm sure it won't sound like every single one that's been released since 1999.
Well, they haven't made a decent one since 1997, so who cares?
I liked whichever one had Stuck in a Moment. I can't remember which one it was. Elevation. I think it was Elevation.
It was the one after Pop, which was the last U2 album I purchased.
Instead of having it unceremoniously thrust on your phone? Yeah,
absolutely. I kind of thought they'd lost their plot, which is quite odd, because like 6 years previously, they released Actung Baby and Zooropa, which are my two favourite U2 albums, and within 5 years I couldn't stand hearing them.
Yes, all that you can't leave behind. That's probably one of my favorite U2 albums. I adore that record. But everything after that, I think How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb was one that followed. I thought it was garbage, and I never bothered again after that. And again, the one that was dumped on my iPhone, I don't think I ever listened to it.
Yeah, that Atomic Bomb album, I remember listening to that travelling somewhere in the car with a massive U2 fan, and it was quite possibly the dullest album I've ever heard in my life. It made Coldplay look like early Judas Priest. Keeping up with the music theme, Penguin 1780 on YouTube says, "The Spawn soundtrack is still one of my favourites, although I skip Marilyn Manson every time. Can You Trip Like I Do is a banger."
Oh, Penguin, man, I have heard that record so many goddamned times. I hate it so much. I used to date a girl who was, she wouldn't watch Spawn, and she used to make fun of me for enjoying it. But she listened to that fucking album she loved shit like the Crystal Method, Propeller Heads. I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan. I used to have so many of those fucking CDs around my house. What was it? Dirty Vegas. There's a few others, but good Lord. If I never hear that album again, it'll be too soon. I'm happy you like it. I think it's awesome. If I could go back, if I had one shot, go back in time, that's what I would stop.
What,
I could be in a room with Hitler, that album, and 2 bullets, and I'd shoot that album twice.
And then beat Hitler to death with the empty gun.
But I'd make him eat the pieces.
Like the bad guy in Ford Fairlane.
Yes, exactly. Which I just downloaded a copy because it's not out on Blu-ray, so I finally downloaded a version so I could at least have it in my Plex to watch as when my little heart desires. Release it on disc, I'll buy the fucker. But anyways, let's go back to Spawn. So, do you have any thoughts on Spawn the album? Have you heard this?
No.
Where do we stand on Filter and the Crystal Method or the Sneaker Pimps?
Oh, I used to have a right crush on the lead singer of the Sneaker Pimps.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's fair. I can see it. Yep, I get that.
Yeah, Six Underground's a banging song. Lovely song, that. That was a breakout hit. I've not listened to enough of that, but I understand where you're coming from, that kind of, American middle of the road people have discovered dance music era. Great. Great. That's my overriding impression of Crystal Method. It's music for people that don't like, it's dance music for people that don't like dance music, I would have said in my younger days, my snobby days. I don't know many of the songs. I mean, obviously I know, most of the acts on there. I've heard of them all. I have a lot of time for Korn, because I think Jonathan Davis is one of the greatest rock vocalists of the last 30 years. So I will have to listen to it, because there was a lot of that going on in the 90s, because there's another film that came out about 93, and the whole concept of it was hard rock bands and rap artists doing duets, and I can't remember what the film's called. It's about 93, and I'm trying to think, has it got somebody like Emilio Estevez in it or something?
Oh, Judgment Night, maybe.
That's it. Yeah, and it was, I think Faith No More did one with Booyah Tribe, and it was basically rock and rap.
Interesting. Well, now, since we're talking about, we're being hypercurrent on the show, we're going to talk about rap rocks and rap rock and kind of terrible albums. There is an album that very few people seem to remember, but it came out in September of 2000, and it's called Loud Rocks. You get to hear, because you needed this in your life, a bunch of rock acts cover Wu-Tang and other hip-hop songs. So you've got, for example, System of a Down covering Shame by Wu-Tang, complete with N-Bomb, I might add. Or you've got Tom Morello and Chad Smith, of course, being the drummer from Red Hot Chili Peppers, covering Wu-Tang Clan Ain't Nothing to Fuck With. You can hear Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi covering a Wu-Tang song, or Incubus and Big Pun. It is one of those weird relics from that time that, again, most people try and forget about. But I got a friend who is very much into Wu-Tang. He's from New York, and I played him the cover of Wu-Tang Ain't Nothing to Fuck With Tom Morello and Chad Smith. I thought he was going to kill me. He's got giant hands. I thought he was going to just tear my throat out like MacGruber.
Why a Crazy Town on the rock album?
Why is any of this happening?
I mean, I've completely missed it. I'm a Wu-Tang fan, and I didn't know this had happened.
Again, I think if you're a fan, it's best if you don't know this happened.
But yeah, that's an album I'm never going to hear. So brilliant. I'll put that with my Bloodhound Gang collection in the fucking bin.
So, Penguin 1780, again, I love that you love it. Don't take this as me me yucking your yum. But I if I had a choice, 2 bullets. And that's just because it reminds me of such a particular time in my life that if there is an afterlife and I'm being punished in it, that's a part of my life they'll make me relive.
I'm going to check it out and see how much I can dislike it. So thanks for the tip. Because I'm never going to watch the film again, so I might as well listen to an album of the film I'm never going to see again.
Well, since we are currently mired back in the year 2000, so as we try to find enough garbage to stuff in our DeLorean, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
I've got some Jay Shetty books here.
I said garbage, not shit. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Paul, I got to tell you quickly before we get to the last couple emails here. I was invited to take part in a focus group. Now, I signed an NDA, so I can't actually talk about which piece of software it was for. I qualified for the thing, and they held like an introductory session. Basically, the idea was it was going to be part of like a lengthy focus group where I would use this piece of software and kind of fill them in over Slack and through video interviews about my experience using the software. It's a piece of software that we use. I'll tell you off air. I can't talk about it on air. But basically, I got disqualified in the first meeting because I told them that I think this is a piece of shit and I'll never use it. Because it's the most useless thing in the world. It is a platform, again, I can't say what it does, but what it doesn't do is edit video. And now they want it to also edit video? And it has the crudest tools. Like a CapCut on your phone would be a better choice of video editing than the shit they're trying to do. And it's all meant to be AI enabled. Of course it is. And I said to them, I said, okay, so how would someone seriously do this? Because how would you color grade the footage? Can you color grade footage? If someone's doing serious video editing, they're going to want to color grade it. Shuffling papers. Well, I think maybe this isn't going to work out. You think? I got paid for an hour of my time, but I just thought, God, this is the future. Maybe I should have stayed back in 1997 with the Spawn soundtrack.
Or you could focus on making even worse Copilot adverts where they try and use people who clearly seem to be some of the worst humans on the planet, advertising how shit they are.
That's another thing I did. Again, I can't talk about the most of it, but I'm trying to make some extra cash on the side. So I've been doing this focus group thing. The money is very infrequent and very small, so I don't recommend it, but I was like, fuck it, I'll try. And because I technically work with a bunch of tech for the show, I qualify for a bunch of different shit. I was shown a bunch of a manifesto and then a bunch of advertising slogans based on that manifesto. And I said, if someone showed this to me and it was a person, I would call the cops. This is a screed. This is not a manifesto. And literally one of their slogans was it wasn't this, because again, I can't say exactly what it was, but it was like, why don't you go fuck yourself? And I'm like, this is very aggressive. They show you the slogan and they'll say you have to think of 3 things. What immediately springs to your mind? I was like, aggressive, unnecessarily aggressive. This whole thing reads like someone just got divorced and they're not happy about it. And then the second slogan they showed, the second manifesto they showed me, they have a guy reading it while you're narrating it while you're reading it. And I finally had to tell them to turn it off because it was so badly written that it hurt enough to read it with my eyes. But to hear this person, whoever it was, haltingly read it, I said, this reads like Yoda had a stroke. And they didn't like that very much. But yeah. So anyways, focus groups, bad way to make money, but sometimes there's funny stories.
Rocky Ronnie contacts us via Patreon to say, in regard to Daredream's comment, I strongly feel that the world right now is going through a huge dark night of the soul. This is something that must happen so that humanity can progress to the next level. This is why so many people are having spiritual awakenings and starting to see the connectedness of everything. As more people begin to see we are all one species on one living planet, that need for each other to coexist and the manufactured paradigms we use to divide us slip away, the world will shift to a more positive place. People will come together more to help each other and other creatures on this planet. You can already see small pockets of those people out there now. More and more people are waking up to the fact that governments and corporations are here to keep our collective power fractured, as they are the only ones who benefit from this. However, there's way more of us than them, and once we see that we are all one, we can regain our power and begin to shape societies into places that benefit the many, and not just the few. Hear, hear.
Amen to that, Ronnie. Amen to that. I do think there is every generation likes to think they're sort of poised at a pivot point in history and that things are going to be different after this point. But I do think that we're sort of at an unprecedented place as far as people being aware that things are fucked up. Like the number of shit I've seen on Instagram of sort of people who kind of work in business saying, the system, you have not failed the system has failed you. Like because again, guys like in my generation taught, go to school, go to college, get the job, do the unpaid internship, get the experience, get the job, get the house, get the wife, get the car, get the kids. But like, that's not really a thing. It's most people, like I know people who make great money, and between paying down their student debt and just the cost of living, like it's tough. There's no way they can buy a house, and they make really good money. It's just completely outside the realm of possibility. And I get a lot of people aren't waking up to this. And my grandfather always used to tell me, well, when you're older, you'd be more conservative. But I think that only works if you actually have money when you get older. Because I think if you get old and you got fuck all, you think, no, man, I think we should all have more. And this is a bad situation.
Indeed.
Next up is from Carolyn via email. Carolyn says, hi, Brennan and Paul. Love your show. I've been listening for years, and I'm a member of the Patreon. Thanks for always sharing such interesting stories, and I do love the easy banter between you both. I was listening to Talk Spooky today, number 71, and the story from Maria reminded me of a story my dad told me recently. When I was little, he was really involved in the car club he's a member of. One night after a meeting at the club rooms, he was driving back home about 10 p.m. along the highway. He said it was a really rainy night. He's cruising along the road with not much other traffic around, when he saw a man standing on the road in the pouring rain. Dad pulled up next to the dude and wound down his window and said to the guy that standing in the road was really unsafe, especially considering the weather, and doesn't need any help. He said that the guy didn't say anything, but was pointing to the bush in front and to the side of his car. He turned his head to look where the old man was pointing, and when he turned back, old mate was gone. Dad said that all his hair stood up on end, and he stepped on it and got the hell out of there. I have another story from my brother that you might like. Back in the day, my brother used to do woodworking with our neighbor Alan. They used to go to a place up the hill that in its early life used to be a children's home in a semi-rural area. At the time of this story, it was used for community activities/groups. Along the driveway, one side was a paddock and the other side was bushland. As they were leaving that night, my brother said that he saw in the headlights what looked like a pair of jeans running at a fair clip across the paddock. The jeans-clad ghost legs jumped the fence, ran across the driveway and into the bush. My brother said, "Alan, did you see that?" Alan apparently just said, "Yep." I've been out to that place a few times when I was a kid, and without ever knowing what its previous life was, it used to scare the hell out of me. The vibes were fairly gross. I still live in the area, and it's just so weird here sometimes. My husband saw a yowie, and I've had my own lifetime of strange experiences here too. As weird as it can be, I love it. I thought I'd share these stories with you both. I'd love to know what's up with the ghost genes. Thanks for reading. And Carolyn, I mean, that kind of sounds like the Fresno Nightcrawler. That's basically what the Fresno Nightcrawler was. It's like a pair of pants running through the dark.
Yes. Great times.
Yeah. Great times. Interesting shit, though.
There is a train of thought that believes that certain ghosts fade through time, and so they become less and less visible. However, if something's wearing jeans, that would suggest it's fairly recent, I would imagine. I think denim I grew up in an era before Levi's decided to make jeans trendy. Jeans were seen as not very good here in the UK. It was only the mid-'80s onwards that jeans became fashionable.
According to this article I found, denim became a thing in Australia back in the 40s.
That doesn't surprise me.
Because I assume since Carolyn said yowie, that we're talking Australia. But so 1940s. And in America, 1873.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, they weren't rare here. People would wear them, but they were classed as workwear more than anything, which you would expect. You know, if somebody's working on a farm in Oz, then you would be wearing jeans most of the time, especially if you're in the outback and stuff in the weather conditions. Yes, it's very hot, but it's also very dry and very dusty and very dirty. So you need something that's tough and protects you, which jeans do. So, but yeah, they never took on here for some reason until Levi's made them cool.
Oh, interesting. So again, thank you, Carolyn. And the ghost jeans, like I say, and it could be any number of things, but that is, again, I think its similarity to the Fresno Nightcrawler is, I think it's worth noting, even though I'm not like, I think the evidence for the Fresno one is pretty thin, but I don't know, having two of them, that definitely kind of makes me wonder.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's fabulous. Thank you for sharing that. Right. Next up is the marvellously named Grim Fandango 81, who's checking back in via Reddit, who says, "Me again, more weird stuff happening in my house. I'm kind of getting used to finding coins now. It's actually a little annoying at this point. I've collected about $8 in loose coins so far, all nickels and dimes. But Saturday night was something new. First, I need to explain my back doors. I have an attached back porch, so if you want to come into the house, you need to come in via the back porch. If that door is locked, it can't be opened from the outside, and it doesn't even have a keyhole. Once you're in the back porch, there's a back door into the kitchen, and it's a heavy door with a locking knob and deadbolt. So Saturday evening, I step out into the backyard to supervise my dog, and I can hear someone yelling, but don't pay much attention. I live in a sketchy area, and yelling and arguing isn't uncommon, sadly. I go back inside, locking the porch door behind me. I go through the heavy kitchen door, I close it behind me and lock the knob, but not the deadbolt. Just as I'm turning to walk away from the door, I hear a voice, but I don't hear it with my ears. It's very loud, authoritative, and very clearly a man's voice. It's in my head so loud, I think I can feel it rattle my brain. Lock the deadbolt. Now, now, now. Do it now. I turn back around and lock the deadbolt, and my hand isn't off the door for more than a few seconds when I hear a loud crash outside. There's a guy outside, either deeply intoxicated or maybe in some kind of psychosis, had thrown himself against my back gate hard enough to yank one hinge out of the fence post, and he's making it pretty clear he's determined to get into my yard. I had to call 911. By the time they got there, he'd gotten through my gate and was fighting the locked back door. Y'all, I cannot wait to move. I cannot imagine how frightening that is.
Holy shit. Okay, well, yeah, Grim Fandango, we also cannot wait for you to be out of that place.
Yeah. Whew. But listen to the voice.
That's it. And I, like we've said before many times in this show, you should always be more concerned about people than ghosts.
Yep.
Because people are the ones who can really do you harm.
Or lie about ghosts.
Yeah, or that. Yeah, or that.
Some people can make a whole living out of it for 19 seasons. Claim a ghost taking their sight.
A lot of folks doing that at the moment. I was actually, I was talking to our patron Liam last night on Instagram, and I was saying that I wish you and I had sometimes. I wish we had less scruples, because man, that grift money is so sweet. But we're just you know, I don't know. We just cannot bring ourselves to sell bullshit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I could do far better if I entertained some bullshit philosophies in the Fortean realm. I know that, but I can't, because I think it's bullshit, and I can't. I've never been able to do things I don't believe in, ever, even for a minute. And it's cost me jobs, it's cost me relationships, it's cost me friendships. If I'm not invested and I don't believe it, then I can't do it. I can't. My brain doesn't work like that, and it costs me. But I'd rather have scruples. I mean, I was once offered a substantial amount of money to bring my show to a network here in the UK, and I flatly turned them down because of the organisation they were, because I will not be associated with that kind of thing.
Oh, interesting. I don't think I've heard the story.
So
You'll have to tell me off air.
No, I'm quite happy. I was contacted by a right-wing media organisation who wanted Mysteries and Monsters to be part of their roster, and they told me how much they'd offer me, and I said no.
I have to know how much.
It was 100K.
You're kidding.
Nope.
Oh my God. Jesus fucking Christ. Good for you, brother. I admired the shit out of that.
It'd be nice, but I couldn't look myself in the mirror if I did that. You know, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not bothered. Money doesn't motivate me like that. I mean, it's always nice to have more, and I've had lots in the past, and I've spent lots, but that doesn't mean I don't understand the value of it. I can't. You can't rewire my brain with financial incentives.
I've used this quote before, but for what will it profit a man if he gains the world and forfeits his soul?
Precisely. There's not much left of my soul, but I'd like to keep the bits I've got. Thank you. So yeah, that was about 3 years ago.
No shit.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me someone approached you, but I didn't realize there was a financial incentive.
Mm-hmm. I've told people that and they don't believe me, but you know, it is what it is. Because everybody,
those guys have the money to throw around. I would believe you anyways if you told me something, but no, like that's where the money is organizations like that.
Yeah, the thing is as well, most of my mates are left wing and they said, "But why don't you take the money?" And I said, "Well, I can't because it's from them." They said, "Yeah, but it's a lot of money." And I'd be a fucking hypocrite. I'd be a hypocrite.
Yeah.
And I'd have no moral fibre left.
And I tell you, man, I know a guy who took the money. Not me, obviously, folks. But I know a guy who took the money in a different way, but same kind of organization. And it has slowly drained the life out of him over the last few years. He's a really very, very sweet guy. I really like him. But he took the money, and I have watched it just drain the vitality from him. It is unfortunate. And the problem is, eventually you start hanging out with those people because it's drained the life out of you. And so you start hanging out with other people who've got the life drained out of them. And then you're friends with scumbags.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, you know, yeah, it would have been nice, but hey, there'll be other opportunities and other situations in life that I would probably embrace far more. So we'll wait and see.
There you go. All right. So last one for the night is Hachi041. And this was shared in the Discord. And of course, if you want to get access to our private Discord, you can become a patron by clicking the link in the show notes or heading to patreon.com/ghoststoryguys. That's patreon.com/ghoststoryguys. And I have really come to love the Discord. We had a lovely chat, me and a listener, about psilocybin therapy recently. If you've ever thought, boy, I would actually like to be able to interact with Bren and Paul more, the Discord is the way to do it. It's just so much easier to be active there. Everyone's very cool. No one's weird about it. No one kind of demands too much time. It's just been a really great experiment. I'm glad that I pulled the trigger on it. So again, patreon.com/ghoststoryguys. We're still figuring out a way to get Apple Podcast folks involved, but we will be doing that soon. But again, you want to get in the private Discord, click the link in the show notes. And as from Hachi, who is in the Discord, Hachi says, I thought I'd share this little story. Sadly, just before Christmas, my cat Zuko, who is about 7 or 8 years old, got sick. So within the week of her getting sick, we took her to the vet and got the sad news that her kidneys were enlarged and she had a mass in her stomach. We had to make the decision to put her down, as even if they tried to fix her, she most likely wouldn't have made it. Just days after her passing, I was doing the dishes and felt a cat do that thing where they kind of jump up and rub themselves against you.
I even felt my dress move and all. I went to look behind me, expecting to see my other cat. Though that wasn't something he'd normally do, and more something Zuko would have done. There was no cat there, and my other cat was asleep on my daughter's bed. Since then, I've seen her around here and there. Like when I was gardening, she was lying on the lawn, like she would always do when I did the gardening. My daughter and Zuko were extremely close. We used to make the joke that Zuko was her second mum, and my daughter gets upset that she doesn't see her. I did try to explain that sometimes the more you look for it, the less likely you are to experience anything, and how some people just seem to experience these things more than others. But it doesn't mean that Zuko didn't love her, and I'm 100% sure she'll always be with her when she can be. Oh, what a lovely story. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's It is one of those things about when pets pass that, I mean, I've had an experience with a pet that's passed. My mum still talks about the regular visits she used to have from one of her dogs, to the point that I think people thought she was having some kind of episode until a couple of them heard the dog chain that was rattling on the bowl, and the dog that she owned at the time didn't have a metal chain, and you knew that Ross had come back for a bit of food, as he would do. But that's lovely. But I think that's the best thing to say to your daughter as well, because I mean, we've said it before. It's the big thing about ghosts, and especially when it's the ghost of somebody you love dearly, be it a pet or a family or a friend or whatever. And people are so wrapped up in this media presentation that if you're not visited by a full body apparition for some reason, this ghost of whatever it is didn't care enough about you to do that. And I hate that kind of bullshit, because they've no idea. They're just making that shit up. They don't know the rules of the paranormal. Nobody does. If we knew what the rules were, we'd all behave accordingly. So if anybody starts saying, oh, well, it's because of this and it's because of that, they're just lying. They're pulling strings out the air. That's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. So Zuko will be there for your daughter in some way. And like you say, the harder you look, sometimes the less you'll see. And I suppose, grief is difficult when you're a child. It's difficult when you're an adult, but it's harder when you're a child, especially when it's an animal and one that you love, because usually for kids, it's their first understanding of mortality for most of us when we lose a pet, which is never easy, and it doesn't get any easier as an adult, as we can both vouch for. And so it's the best way to be. So I hope Zuko keeps coming, and I hope Zuko does eventually make herself known to your daughter, and thank you again for sharing such a lovely, touching story.
Yes, thank you very, very much. I had to get Paul to read the back half of that, but it was beautiful, and thank you for sharing. All right, my friend, that brings us to the end of our listener mail for this time around. And thank you to everyone who wrote into us, who sent us messages on Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, through the website, through email, through all the other places that I'm forgetting right now, YouTube, Spotify. Again, keep doing that. We are very much trying to reach a new audience. We're trying to find new ears. So if you think you know someone who would enjoy our show, make sure to tell them, and keep commenting, keep doing all that stuff, because it helps put us in front of other folks as well. And of course, you can reach us. We are the Ghost Story Guys on Instagram. We are Ghost Story Guys Cabin on Facebook. We also have a Facebook page as well, which is just the Ghost Story Guys podcast. We're on Reddit as r/Ghost Story Guys. You can find our website at ghoststoryguys.com. You can fill out the form there if you want to reach us, or you can email us at ghoststoryguys@gmail.com. Paul, my friend, where can everyone find you online?
You can find Mysteries and Monsters across most social media sites and all podcast situations.
And I am Largely the Truth on Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd. And you can find my horror fiction podcast, Fear Daily, which I co-author with Brandon Scheck-Snyder, everywhere fine podcasts live. And you can hear me reading Ruth Roper Wild's These Haunted Times, Volume 6 on Audible. And of course, it would hardly be an episode of Talk Spooky without a song. We have another returning guest on this show. They are our longtime friends and label mates. They are Nakatomi Freefall.
Woo.
Out of Vancouver Island. And of course, they're part of our house label, Night Harvest Recordings. They're here with their latest single, Black Cherry. And that just dropped here about a week ago. And if you like what you hear, make sure to check out more from Nakatomi Freefall on Bandcamp and everywhere else you get your tunes. I'll put a link in the show notes. And folks, if you have a band, if you or your friends have a band, you know people who have a band, you're looking for a little more exposure, shoot us a message. ghoststoryguys@gmail.com. Maybe we can work something out. We don't play everyone who sends us stuff. Sometimes things are maybe, not quite developed enough for the show yet, or maybe, it's just not quite the right vibe. But still, we love hearing from you guys, and we'd love to feature as many artists as is reasonably possible. So again, that's ghoststoryguys@gmail.com if you want your band featured here. That's going to do it. We'll be back next week with episode 236. But until then, we will leave you with Nakatomi Freefall and Black Cherry.
Wow. Your lips are stained black cherry, baby. Taking your fill. Oh, such a tasty thrill. The lies that you feed fulfill a need. Plant a seed, my wonder drug. I'll fall asleep in a slippery way. Will I ever see the light of day?
I'll send your lead like cherry, baby. You move so slow, I'll please don't go.